In this week's Blizzplanet Weekly, we talk about Ghostcrawler hinting at an unannounced huge feature in Mists of Pandaria, Blizzard reveals the Heart of the Swarm opening cinematic, some new information regarding Blizzard Allstars, Pardo sticks up for Jay Wilson, and is it right for eSports teams to lay blame on journalists for leaking information on announcements? Hey guys, welcome to the newest episode of Blizzplanet Weekly. As always, I'm your host, Chris Arnone. I got all trimmed up and stuff, took some pictures with the lady friend, so I had to, get all nice and clean and good looking. But, you guys get the benefit too, all right? Let's get right into that World of Warcraft weekly news roundup.
Here's the beef.
So first up this week in World of Warcraft, change is coming to PvP in gear in patch 5.2, and the Blizzard community team put out a blog recently about these changes. Check it out. The World of Warcraft development team pointed out some of the main issues that they had to work with regarding PvP. Players who had a head start early in the season would earn the best gear the quickest and continue to dominate because of that. Players who start mid-season would have a tough time being able to catch up with other players way ahead in gear. But balance needs to happen to still reward those players who might have made the commitment they have. Lastly, there's a gear gap problem between Honor and Conquest gear. Honor is too low, and Conquest is too high in terms of the power scale. They have to balance between PvE and PvP gear and make sure one isn't more powerful or becomes a straight path to victory in PvE. The changes addressing these problems will be a team rating inflation. Ladder rankings will be decided near the end of the season, with team ratings gradually increasing over the course of the season. This is to help ensure that ladder remains active and competition stays fierce from start to finish. For gear, they're dropping the 2200 rating requirement from PvP gear, and there will be PvP gear in 4 tiers, similar to how PvE works to help bridge the gap. As for the mid-season catch-up, they're introducing a new algorithm that will help players catch up. The formula is the current week in the season times 1000 minus conquest points earned so far in the season. For instance, if a player starts PvP in week 10 of the season and has not yet earned any conquest points this season, they'll have an additional cap of 10,000 points added to the normal weekly rating-based cap. If a player has played through the season in week 10 and already gained 10,000 conquest points, they would simply have the normal weekly cap to work with. These are the changes as they currently stand, and Blizzard is looking for opinions and feedback to these changes. So for those of you on Twitter, you may have noticed that Ghostcrawler has still been pretty active recently. Now, one of the questions that was recently put to him, I'm going to read here a little bit, it's a quote, Wrath of the Lich King gave us Random Dungeon Finder. Cataclysm gave us LFR. Which new Mists of Pandaria feature do you think has had or will have a huge impact? Now, Ghostcrawler simply responded, we haven't announced it yet. Winky face. Right? So, of course, the internet has been all abuzz about what this change what might be. Now, Eldorian believes it could be a scaling down of classic dungeons and making them into challenge modes. Now, this way, so if you have a level 90 character and you want to go play an old level 20 dungeon, it'll actually scale your character down for that level 20 dungeon if you go in as a challenge mode. Now, another idea, this could be some sort of like a mentor or buddy system. So if you bring in a new friend to World of Warcraft and you want to go spelunking with them and doing some quests with them, you can scale your character down to quest with them without just, overpowering every little creature you come across. So one of the questions we want to ask is, what do you think this unannounced feature might be that Ghostcrawler is hinting at? Let us know down in the comments, and let's talk Starcraft II.
Want a piece of me, boy?
So this week, Blizzard released the opening cinematic for Starcraft II, Heart of the Swarm. And I tell you what, if you have not seen this thing yet, holy shit, I tell you what, I'm not a huge Starcraft person, but if they did a whole movie like this, I'd watch it. I'd buy tickets. It looks fucking amazing. But anyway, the cinematic appears to take place right where Christie Golden's book Flashpoint left off. It appears as though Kerrigan, who human, is dreaming about her life as Queen of the Blades and launching an attack against the Terrans as revenge against Arcturus Mengsk. So, check it out. Here's the new opening cinematic for Heart of the Swarm.
Worlds will burn. Now at last, on this world, vengeance shall be mine. For I am the Queen of Blades.
So, like I said, fucking awesome cinematic. I tell you what, Nick Carpenter's team has absolutely outdone themselves yet again with that one. So, you saw the opening cinematic. Now, you might be thinking, oh yes, Blizzard has revealed some Heart of the Swarm single-player information. Here's the info. With the launch of the cinematic, we learned that several fan sites and news organizations were invited to a press event at Blizzard to discuss the single-player campaign for Heart of the Swarm. Both Team Liquid and sclegacy.com have some great news and interviews up discussing the single-player campaign. We learn that Kerrigan is out for revenge against Mengsk and looks to regain her powers and control over the Zerg Swarm. The demo given of the single-player campaign had 3 missions available. Similar to Rainer's Hyperion in Wings of Liberty, you'll have a crew with Kerrigan where you can talk to advisors, upgrade your army, and you'll be able to upgrade Kerrigan's abilities that benefit both herself and your army. For more information, check out Team Liquid and SC Legacy links in the show notes. Very cool stuff there. So let's finish up with something that's kind of StarCraft, maybe a little less than it used to be. We actually have some Blizzard Allstars information. Now, for those of you not in the know, Blizzard Allstars is sort of an in-production MOBA, like Dota 2 or League of Legends, that Blizzard has been working on for, well, they're Blizzard, so they've been working on it for quite a while. But at that very press event, there were some questions raised about Blizzard Allstars. Now, we've learned from Eurogamer's interview with Chris Sagatti that Blizzard Allstars will be released as a standalone game. It will no longer simply be a mod for Starcraft II. It definitely started that way, but they will release it free-to-play with microtransactions as a standalone game. Now, this very much falls in line with games like Dota 2 and League of Legends. They both work on different free-to-play models, but free-to-play models indeed. Now, the biggest thing that came out of this, though, is Blizzard was talking about how Blizzard games are always easy to play, hard to master. And MOBAs aren't necessarily like that. Now, League of Legends is significantly easier to get into than Dota 2, but they both have fairly steep learning curves. I mean, even to play with any competency whatsoever, it's a big task, all right? I've tried my hand at Dota 2, I've spent some time with it, and I still suck at it, all right? It's a fun game, but I still suck at it. So they're definitely trying to figure out how to do this MOBA thing, make it competitive, make it awesome, but still give it that easy to play, hard to master kind of feeling. And what's more, Rob Pardo did confirm, big surprise, it will have a beta, as pretty much everything Blizzard does. And of course, as we all still know, they are on track. Once the team finishes and puts out Heart of the Swarm, they will begin work in earnest on Blizzard All-Stars. So that's enough StarCraft / Blizzard All-Stars. Let's talk Diablo III.
Stay a while and listen.
Now, this first piece we're definitely going to have to file away in the duh kind of news category. It has been announced, confirmed by Rob Pardo, that the yet unannounced expansion for Diablo III will have a beta. Like I said, it's kind of the well duh category because pretty much every game that Blizzard makes, they give us a beta for. So no big surprise there. And obviously with all the issues they have with Diablo 3, they want to make sure any new issues that come out in the expansion get worked out as much ahead of time as they possibly can. Now next up, let's talk black weapons. No, I don't mean African-American weapons. It's not a racial thing. I'm talking about weapons that they've been kind of controversial, but they have the min-max damage affix on them, all right? Now, initially, this was a bug, and now this has been confirmed recently by community rep Vayflare, that when these came out, they were indeed a bug, but they may not be fixed in 1.07 or ever, all right? A lot of people have been really afraid that their black weapons, as they're called, were going to be fixed, nerfed, or just go away completely in some tweaks in 1.07. Well, now they're saying this is not the case. The problem is, if they did this, it would nerf a large number of existing weapons. So, the plan is, if and when they ever do put in a bug for these black weapons, it will only apply to newly created items and will have no effect on existing items in your inventory. So, calm down. It's okay. Calm your shit down. They're not going to mess with your black weapons. Now, last week Eldorian talked a lot in his, little video he did all by himself. I was really, really sick. It sucked. And by the way, don't worry. I will never, ever, ever call you Blizzplaneteers. It's not going to happen. If he puts up a little Captain Planet image right here, right now, I will go and punch him and make sure he comes back on the show next week with a big black eye. All right? He'd have to, pay me a lot of money to ever call you Blizzplaneteers. Anyway, I'm getting sidetracked. Last week, he was talking about Jay Wilson leaving the Diablo III team. Now, he announced this on the official Diablo III Blizzard forums. And if you were anywhere near those forums last week, you know it was an absolute shitstorm. I mean, you would have thought that Hitler himself was leaving the Diablo team. The amount of venom and vitriol that people were spitting at Jay Wilson and just bemoaning Diablo 3, it was absolutely horrible. And Rob Pardo just decided he'd had enough, and he decided to stand up for Jay Wilson, all right? So he said that Jay Wilson is an excellent designer and very proud of what the Diablo 3 team accomplished. Now, he finished up also by saying if you feel the need to dish out blame, that he prefer you dish out that blame at himself. And we're talking Rob Pardo here, all right? That he is the executive producer on the project. He hired Jay, and he gave him advice and direction throughout the process. He, Rob Pardo, is ultimately responsible for the game and takes full responsibility for the quality of the result. And that's just good management right there. You always take responsibility for your projects. And, I share this opinion with Eldorian, that the trolling and the bullying, it's got to stop, all right? Jay Wilson did not shit in your cereal bowl. I was talking to Paul, our cameraman, earlier. Apparently he did shit in Paul's cereal bowl. But for the rest of you, at worst, he didn't make the game you wanted him to make. All right? Get over it. It's been almost a year now. Move on. Leave this guy alone. He's made some great games, and he will continue, I am confident, to make more great games in the future. So, fucking act like adults and leave him be. All right? Now, as that wasn't a big enough bitch session for you, let's get into the official Blizzplanet bitch session. So, some of you may have heard of Rod Breslau. I may be mispronouncing that, but he's more known by his handle Slasher. Now, he's good friends with a lot of esports teams, and he's a writer for GameSpot, sort of a games journalist, if you will. And being good friends with a lot of the esports teams, he hears a lot of news, hears about a lot of player signings and other big announcements going on in that scene. And then, of course, he writes those awesome announcements up on GameSpot, sometimes before they're officially announced. Is this bad? Is what Slasher's doing wrong? Now, specifically, this happened very recently. Evil Geniuses had signed some former Kespa players, and they were making a big deal about it. They were waiting, they were signing all these contracts with advertisers, promising them a certain amount of traffic when they made this big, huge announcement. Well, Slasher found out about the signing, of course. He did what you do as a journalist, and he wrote up about it before Evil Geniuses got the chance. And I guess got them in trouble with their advertisers, they didn't make their quotas, all this stuff. Well, where this really came to a head is that Alex Garfield, who is the CEO of Evil Geniuses, he thinks that Slasher's in the wrong, and he publicly yelled and shamed Slasher, yelled at Slasher during a web show, saying he was ruining esports because of leaking information takes away from these sponsors' web hits. Now, my thoughts, I absolutely agree here with Eldorian once again. Most of these companies, they're smart. They will put out embargoes, all right? You sign NDAs. I've done a lot when I was a video game journalist. Eldorian has done a lot. We get information before we're allowed to put it out there. So you sign an NDA. But that allows you to get your article together, get all your information together, do an interview, so that as soon as that NDA lifts, bam, you're right out there, you're in front. All right? And it's the journalist's job to report things as quickly as possible, to break that story. That's what they do, especially in this age where we're so traffic-driven. Now, most sites, most good gaming journalist sites, they don't have people screaming in their ears about traffic. But it's just the way they work. They want to break that news. They want to break those big stories. And they live and die off their inside information. I mean, every year before E3, it seems like the last couple of years, Kotaku has gotten a solid inside track on exactly what most companies are going to be announcing, specifically Microsoft. All right? Now, the problem doesn't lie with Kotaku, or in this case, the problem doesn't lie with Slasher or GameSpot. It lies with the companies that are trying to protect their information. Alex Garfield, if you're a CEO and you have a company, it is your job to protect your information. If you want to go yell at somebody, figure out who his source is. Figure out how the information leaked and go yell at them. You don't leak at the journalist for doing his job, all right? You need to do your job better. And tell you what, if there's one guy leaking all your information, here's a thought. Why don't you sign Slasher to NDAs, give him some exclusive first interviews, make sure he can't leak the information early, and he won't even try to. If he knows he's getting that first interview, that first big piece of information, and he's a part of that announcement. Alex Garfield, you fucked up. You didn't protect your proprietary information well enough, and you screwed up with your sponsors. Slasher didn't do this. He was just doing his job and doing it pretty damn well, I must say. All right? So that's enough for our Blizzplanet bitch session and our video this week. Now, you can always follow me on Twitter, follow me on Tumblr, or look for me on Facebook as Chris M. Arnone. I talk about, all kinds of video game things, books, the book that I'm writing, anything and everything nerdy and awesome that I enjoy. And of course, go to blizzplanet.com. All the news, information, great community, everything you need to know about Blizzard Entertainment games. We'll see you guys next time.